Hello everyone. So in this video we are gonna discuss about the Article 18 of the Indian Constitution that basically talks about the abolition of titles. Okay. So there are basically four clauses in this article. Okay. And these clauses are basically the clause 1 talks about that a state cannot confer titles except military and academic distinctions. Okay. The clause 2 talks about that Indian citizens cannot accept foreign titles. The clause 3 talks about that non-citizens in state services need president's consent to accept foreign titles. Okay. And the clause 4 said that holder of office of profit or trust also need president's consent to accept foreign gifts, emoluments or offices. Okay, now we will read each clause one by one. Okay, let's start. So article 18 that basically talks about the abolition of titles. So what is a title? Basically title is a designation of rank, honor or nobility. Okay, it marks a social superiority. Basically a title is a distinction attached to a person's name and it's create a sort of privileged status or higher social standing. If we see the historical background, then the British colonial administration has rewarded loyalty to colonial rules by creating a elite social class. It was to encourage what? A division in a society. So they confer honorary titles and creating a social elites. Like for example, the titles are Sir, Rai Bahadur, Khan Bahadur, Nawab Bahadur. Okay. But the Constituent Assembly rejected hereditary privileges and choose what? A republican equality. And that's why they incorporated the Article 18 of the Indian Constitution. The constituent assemblies want to establish equality of status and it tries to avoid creation of any sort of privileged classes and it ensure dignity of every citizen. Under Article 18, Clause 1, it was written that a state cannot confer any titles, but there are two exceptions that are being given, and these exceptions are the military distinctions and academic distinctions. The military distinctions, the purpose is to regard what? A recognize sacrifice, encourage courage and honor military services. For example, the Param Chakra, the Mahavir Chakra, the Veer Chakra and so on. Okay, and the reason for this exception is that these are rewards for services and not symbol for social superiority. The second exception is academic distinctions, and the purpose is to recognize learning, recognize research and the educational achievements. Okay, for example, BA, MA, MSc, PhD. Okay, and the reason for the exception is that these indicate educational qualification rather than the nobilities. Now there is a question regarding the national awards, that is whether Bharat Ratna or Padma awards violate Article 18 Clause 1. Then the court held that Bharat Ratna is not a title, okay, and they are merely given to recognize merit. Therefore they are constitutionally valid. But there are some important restrictions, like the awards cannot become part of name. You cannot use them as a prefix or suffix to your name, and it cannot be created as an hereditary status. Like Bharat Ratna given to Sachin Tendulkar cannot be passed to Arjun Tendulkar. Okay, now we have covered the Article 18 Clause 1. Now we will go and see what was there in Article 18 Clause 2. Basically prohibits on acceptance of any foreign titles. It's that no citizen of India shall accept any title from any foreign state. Basically it said that no citizen of India means it applies to every Indian citizen irrespective of status. Okay, and that you cannot accept any titles from what? From foreign state, like foreign government, sovereign nations or any recognized foreign state. Basically the purpose here is to what? Is to preserve national loyalty and to preserve foreign influence, protect national sovereignty and avoid divide allegiance. Basically the philosophy of constitution is that the citizen's primary loyalty must remain with India and the foreign government should not create any privileged class among Indians, because foreign title may create obligation toward foreign powers, and they may influence public conduct, they may undermine national independence, they may create distinction among citizens. So, like for example, some of the prohibited titles like knighthood titles, the noble titles granted by monarchies, the hereditary distinctions, or any distinctions creating special social status. But what is not necessarily covered? So what is not covered? So what is not necessarily covered? The academic degree from foreign university. Why? Because they are generally treated as an academic distinction rather than any titles. Similarly, international awards. But if they are awards and not titles, then what? The professional qualification. That is, if they merely indicates competency and not a noble rank. So as we have seen the two clauses, that is the Article 18 clause 1 that put restrictions that restrict the state of India from conferring any titles, and the Article 18 clause 2 that restrict Indian citizen from accepting foreign titles. Now we will see what Article 18 clause 3, the restriction on foreign titles for non-citizens holding office under the state. That is, no person who is not a citizen of India. So it applies to whom? To foreigners. It applies to non-citizens, employees, non-citizen officials, and it does not apply to Indian citizens. It basically said that no person who is not a citizen of India while they hold office of profit or trust. That is, the restrictions operate only during tenure and applies throughout period of service. Okay, because basically it continues as long as office is being held. So office of profit or a trust is something like a position under government, a public office carrying responsibility, officer involving in confidence of state, or a office connected with the public duties, that is under the state, under the central government, state government, or some government department, etc. So they cannot accept any title without the consent of a president. The president approval is mandatory here. Prior permission required. What? A prior permission. Like a president approval is mandatory, and you required a prior permission to accept or receive any foreign title from foreign state. So basically the effect here is that suppose if a foreign state offer titles to any non-citizen who is in the service of government of India or holds office of profit or trust under the state, then the president's consent must be sought, and if the consent is granted, then the acceptance of the title is valid. If the consent denied, then you cannot accept the titles. It was prohibited. And the same basic principle applies here also, that the public office must remain independent and the loyalty to public duty must prevail. Now we have covered with the Article 18 clause 3. Now we will see what? Article 18 clause 4. So Article 18 clause 4 that basically said that the restrictions on acceptance of foreign presents, emoluments or office, that is, any person holding an office of profit or trust under the state cannot accept foreign gifts, benefit or offices without the president consent. So here any person means it includes what? It includes both citizens as well as not citizens, and that holding any office of profit or trust, and it is that must be connected with some state function, must occupy a position of responsibility under the governmental authority and under the state. If any person holding office of profit or trust under the state, then without the president consent, that is without prior approval required, without prior approval you cannot accept. There are some restriction applies to acceptance of any present, emolument or office. A present can be a gift received from foreign state, like some monetary gift, or the emoluments can be a salary, a financial benefit, allowance or any pecuniary advantages. An office can be a position under foreign government, foreign state, like employment, advisory post, any official designation. The office of profit. So if a person holds any office of profit or office of trust under the state, then he cannot accept presents, emoluments or offices without the president prior consent. Okay, basically it is to prevent corruption, to prevent any sort of foreign influence, and to avoid conflict of interest, and that is to maintain integrity in a public services, and to ensure that the loyalty lies with the India, and it safeguards what? National sovereignty. Because there are some concerns. The foreign gift may influence decisions. A foreign salary may create obligations. A foreign office may create divided loyalty. So the public official must remain independent. So that's why these restrictions are being put. So basically, the president prior consent is required. If the consent is granted, then you can accept. If the consent is denied, then there is total prohibited. They are totally prohibited. You cannot accept them. So as we have seen, the Article 18 Clause 3, that applies to whom? That applies to non-citizens and concerned only with foreign titles. And there also the president's consent required. Okay. In Article 18 Clause 4, it applies to all persons. And it covers what? Presents, emoluments, offices. And here also the president consent is required. And Article 18.2, that 18 Clause 2, that applies to Indian citizens. So I think we have covered the Article 18 Clause 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, thank you for watching the video. Please like and do subscribe. Please leave a comment if there is any doubt. And if you have any feedback, then please do comment. Thank you. Bye.